The Seattle temple was, Narayan was up there building an altar, and when it was built, right around that time, I remember Prabhupada gave a lecture one day in the evening, an evening class, and he mentioned a godbrother of his, he'd received a letter that a godbrother of his had just passed away. Don't remember, somebody else will know the name. It was one of the Tirtha Swamis in the Gaudiya Math, but it wasn't Bhakti Vilas Tirtha, who lived, of course, much beyond that. It was another one whose name was something Tirtha Maharaj. And Prabhupada said that this particular godbrother was very kind upon him and had actually written him a letter while he was living in Vrindavan as a Vanaprastha, or Jhansi or Vrindavan. I forget where he said he was, but he said he received a letter from this godbrother reminding him that Guru Maharaj, meaning Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, had wanted him to take sannyas and to preach, especially in the West. And this godbrother had written him a letter reminding him about that. And Prabhupada said, I did not want to take sannyas because it is a very difficult position materially. It's not easy to do, and I didn't want to do it. But this godbrother wrote me this letter at this time, and he said, and at the same time, right in the same days when I received this letter, he said, 3 times in succession, on 3 successive nights, he said, my Guru Maharaj appeared before me in dream. And each time in the dream, he was walking away from me, and as he was walking away, he turned around and beckoned for me to follow. And he went like this. Right? And he had that dream 3 times. I believe he said 3 nights in succession, but definitely 3 successive times in a very short span of time. Right at the same time that externally the godbrother had sent them this letter. And these things prompted him to take sannyas. What Prabhupada said specifically was, in this way, my Guru Maharaj pulled me out from this material world. And when he said pulled, 2 tears just literally suddenly formed and leaped out of his eyes and went then, and it was just like they were squeezed out by a shudder of ecstasy, and went running down his cheeks. And they hadn't formed slowly and dripped down like most tears do. As he said pulled, his voice got real thick as he said it, and tears came shooting out of his eyes. And everybody in the room was just speechless, right? Because we were all devotees or guests but mostly it was just devotees there. It was an evening program and during a weekday. And I was very much impressed at the amount of intense feeling that he had toward his Guru Maharaj calling him to take sannyas. While we were walking back one time, I remember I asked Srila Prabhupada, and we were walking side by side, I said, Srila Prabhupada, could I ask you this? This is not a judgmental question, because whatever you eat, I'll eat with you and feel like it's what I should be eating, and it's Mahaprasadam for me. But I don't think that the food that we're getting fed here is really being offered to Krishna. They have a Krishna deity in there, but you can't tell him from the other deities, and they don't make any discrimination. And how should we view eating like this? And Prabhupada looked at me and he said, now I'm putting this out now because I feel like some of these things, at least they should be on record, even though, well, I'll tell you what happened. He said, actually, he said, everything is prasadam. And so a Vaishnav, if he takes anything, he simply takes it as the mercy of the Lord. Right? But we prefer to eat what is offered to Radha and Krishna. But otherwise, we understand everything to be the mercy of Krishna. He said, but do not preach like this, he said. And I said, why is that? And he said, because the new devotees, they will take food simply as sense enjoyment unless they offer it first. And so we do not want to confuse them. And that, as I thought about it, I was smiling on the way back because I always thought that's the difference between how an Uttama Adhikari sees things and when he comes down to the level of a Madhyama Adhikari to preach. It was the first time I saw a clear-cut example of that, which I saw many times later on, as I saw how Prabhupada had his priorities and like that, but that was the first time. I remember again, there was plenty of time, he was talking, he was letting us ask questions. And so I asked him a question at one point. I said, Prabhupada, it says that in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it says at one point that the 14 different grades of planetary systems are arranged along the stem of the lotus flower. And I said, I had always envisioned that they would be from Brahma Loka, and there's a lotus flower stem that comes down to the navel of the, which one is that? That's the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, the second Vishnu, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. He's supposed to be in each universe. It's supposed to be filled halfway with water, and then from his navel it says that a lotus stem comes, and on top of the lotus is Brahmaloka, and that the rest of the planetary systems are arranged, it says, along the stem of the lotus flower. I said I had always envisioned them like we put them in pictures. We put them out in space kind of around Brahmaloka, but here it says that they're along the stem of the lotus flower. I said, how can that be? Because they appear to be in all directions. And Prabhupada looked at me, and he went like this. He smiled. He went, well, it may be a very big lotus flower. Then he shook his head a little bit and he said, but we cannot understand these things with our puppy brains. And he smiled. And I just put my head down and smiled, because it hit me immediately that I'm trying to conceive of all these things, but I have a very small scope, right? And then when he said that, it was a nice point of revelation. I remember one day we went from Mr. Jariwala's house to an engagement at an industrial facility outside of Surat, where the company had invited us to come for their employees, and we did an engagement. It was a nice place. I remember there were bougainvillea bushes growing around the place, and palms, and there was grass behind the industrial facility, which wasn't a heavy factory. I don't know what they made there, but anyway, Prabhupada it was a kirtan and lecture and kirtan program, and on the way back, our host that day wanted to show us a new Durga temple that had just been constructed by the side of a river there. And I forget the name of that particular river, but it flows through, that's Gujarat province. Surat's in Gujarat. We've gone from Maharashtra, where Bombay is, up into Gujarat. And by this nice stream, there was a really nice new Durga temple built, and it had a new deity in it. And it was one of those temples where they were taking care of the deity and like that. And I remember specifically Prabhupada telling us as we went in to do just like he did. And he said, when I bow down, I'm going to bow down with my right-hand side toward Mother Durga, right, toward the Durga deity. Now, normally when we bow with our left side, because usually, it's not this way in the LA temple, but usually the Vyasasana is to the right, or the Guru is said to be we're supposed to be bowing to our Guru, and it puts our left side toward the deity. So when you bow to a demigod, you should bow and offer respects, but you do it by offering to your Guru. The deity is on your right and Krishna is on your left. And that's how you'll be thinking as you offer obeisances to your spiritual master before the demigod. They're also serving Krishna. They will accept this as respect, right? One evening, he said he wanted to have a feast for the Gita Press people. He said they have been sheltering us and feeding us, so we will cook for them. And I got to cook it. Well, actually, our cooks made sabji and puris, and I made a chutney and halava, which I made with milk. Right? Later on, Prabhupada said it's Parsi halava, it's first class, but that was later. One way or the other way, I cooked in the afternoon, then everyone came to the program. I remember in the afternoon, Prabhupada asked what I was going to make as a chutney, and I said apple. And he went, I do not think apple chutney is very nice. Make tomato, or something like that. I said, well, Prabhupada, they already purchased the fruit, so we already have the apples. He said, all right, he said, but I do not, apple chutney. So anyway, so I thought, well, I'll do the best I can. It was already, because it was like 20 rupees for the apples or something like that. They were not common, right? Anyway, putting that aside now, the program went on. At this program, Prabhupada, for example, a couple days earlier, and throughout that week, Prabhupada had been teaching us, he had a copy of Bhaktivinoda's songbook that he'd just been given. And he was teaching us Jai Radha Madhava in the morning by having us repeat it after him. Right? He took a special liking to that particular song, and that's when he began to sing it before his morning class. That's when it started. And he was teaching it to us by repeating one line at a time and having us repeat it after him. Another time at the same time, deities were there. It was either Radha Damodar or another almost identical set to Radha Damodar that we had acquired there. They were the medium, about this high, the multi-metal kind, really beautiful deities that we were worshiping there. And we were taking care of the deity worship. And the floor was wooden, and Prabhupada didn't think it was properly clean, and he'd mentioned it, and then when he saw it, he didn't think it was clean enough again. I remember Kaushalya had volunteered to clean the floor in the temple room. Prabhupada said, well, okay, this is how you do it. You're not doing it properly. Do it like this. And Prabhupada pulled his dhoti up and got down on his hands and knees, and he had a pot of water, right, and another pot. He said, get 2 pots, right, one for dirty water, one for clean water. And he took a rag and he put it in one pot of water. He got down, he scrubbed the floor, right. Then he went to the other pot and he wringed it. Then he wringed it out into that, and then he rinsed it, and then he put it in fresh water and put it back down, wring it out, and then went back down and mopped up what he'd done. He said, in this way you will keep one that is clean and one that gets dirtier, and always rinse the rag and then soak up the dirt. That way you'll pick up the dirt rather than just moving it around. But he spent like 2 or 3 minutes down on his hands and knees scrubbing the floor in front of the deities. I remember that was a nice thing to see him do. He didn't hesitate to do it at all. He got right down and showed Kaushalya exactly how he wanted it done. So then that night, all the people from the Gita Press showed up for this program. And it was supposed to be a lecture on Vedanta Sutra. Like a very philosophical topic, right? The one that starts out Janmad Yasya Yato Nyayad or Yataha, and then it becomes the first line in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's very philosophical. So Prabhupada was speaking about Vedanta Sutra, but very quickly he brought it around to the conclusion that the ultimate knowledge of Vedanta was knowledge of Radha and Krishna, right? And then he quoted the line, the one about Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. And when he was talking about Kunja Bihari, right, which means that they're enjoying in the pleasure groves of Vrindavan, as he talked about Kunja Bihari, he had been speaking for maybe 15 minutes. His eyes closed, and he was sitting up very straight. And he just stopped talking and sitting up very straight, a little tremble was going in his body. And he just sat there for I don't know how many minutes. He just sat quietly for several minutes. And both the Gita Press people, who are actually nice Indian devotees, and ourselves were just spellbound watching him, because we knew that he drifted off into a trance right on the Vyasasana. Sometimes in those days when we were traveling, Prabhupada would be tired, and he would literally doze off while sitting in his seat or waiting on the Vyasasana or something like that. But this time he was sitting up very straight, and there was a little tremor I could see in his body. And after several minutes, while we just sat, you could hear a pin drop in the room. Nobody said anything, nobody moved, everybody just was watching him. After a few minutes, he opened his eyes, and he said, so this song is very nice. You should all learn to sing this song. And he got up off the Vyasasana and went into his room, and that was the end of the lecture. Dropping back a little bit to one of the cities we were in, and I believe it was in Indore. There was an invitation one night from the Indore Lions Club, I believe it was. They had clubs like they have in the West, the Lions Club. These were local politico businessmen. And they invited us to come for a program. Prabhupada didn't want to go do it. So he called me in. He said, I'm not going to go to this one. He said, I do not like these men. He said, they are snakes. You go and give the lecture. I went, oh my gosh, you know. I said, well, what should I tell them, right? He said, just tell them we are spreading their Hindu religion all over the world, so they're obliged to give us a donation. But before you talk, have a big kirtan, right? Have a good kirtan. You lead it, right? And then you speak, right? He said, if you have a big kirtan first, he said, the chanting, he said, it is our mantra for charming snakes. Then they'll be able to listen for a few minutes without arguing and try to get them to agree to give a donation and go. So he said that it is our mantra for charming snakes. Prabhupada walked in the room and he just looked at the situation of the preparations and he stopped. He said, what is this? Where are the fruits? Where are the flowers? I cannot believe this. He said, I think this initiation ceremony is a farce. I cannot bring the Lord of the universe into a place like this. Why have you not decorated nicely? What is this? What are these things? There were stainless steel hotel pans for bathing the deities in. You know, the rectangular they call hotel pans. They were the best the devotees had to come up with, but Prabhupada was totally dissatisfied. Totally dissatisfied. He started to rage. He stood there for a long time chastising Nanda Kumara, chastising Shamsundar, chastising Akoyanana, one or the other, one after the other. Then he said, I am not going to do it. I do not think this is simply, I cannot do it. You have not done nicely. This is not, there should be flowers and fruit everywhere. Everything should be much, no, I cannot do it. I'm leaving. Then he stopped. And he kind of hesitated. Then he got up on the Vyasasana and said, all right, I will do it, but I do not think this is very nice. And this was all right on TV. He didn't pay the slightest bit of it. He was shouting for, it must have gone on, I think it might have gone on for 10 minutes. He just dressed all three of them up and down one side and up and down the other. It was just incredible. And I was shaking. I was thinking, boy, I'm lucky that I wasn't in charge of any of the arrangements. Then he said, all right. So there was a kirtan, and then he said, all right, Revatinandan Maharaj, you do the fire sacrifice. Now, Pradyumna was there, and I had assumed that he was going to do the fire sacrifice because he always did them, right, when he was there. But I think maybe because it was Akoyananda's sannyas unexpectedly. Unexpectedly, I was called upon to do it. Now, I'd already been doing some of these, both marriages and deity installation ceremonies in London, but I hadn't done one in months. However, I knew all the prayers and mantras. So I thought, well, I sat down to do it, right? I just had to start functioning. And at least luckily, I thought luckily I know very well the Mangalacharana prayer, so at least I can chant the mantras, and I knew the one about Oma Povitra Pavitro Va Sarva Vastam Gatopi Va Yaksmared Punadikaksham Shabaya Bhyantara Suchi. So I started in, and as I started doing the Bande Ham Shri Guru Shri Juta, having everybody repeat it, every time I would break syllables in the words. Like, for example, where does one divide the one word that is Shri Varsabhanavi Devi Dayitayan Kripabdaye? It all shows as one word in the songbook. Where does that break up into syllables? You have to know Sanskrit in order to be able to properly divide it into smaller groups of their compound words. But Prabhupada had already told us in India not to spend time studying Sanskrit other than to learn it as we did classes. And so I wasn't a Sanskrit scholar. I was forbidden to do it, actually, because he wanted us to be preaching in India. So anyway, every time I would make a mistake, Prabhupada would interrupt me. And he would say, no, it is not like that. It is like this. And he would show the correct division of the words into syllables. But I had to continue to keep on going. And every time I made a mistake, which were inevitable mistakes, because I did not know Sanskrit, Goravir Bhava Bhume's thumb is one word, right? Etc., right? So where to break it up into syllables? And every time I made a mistake, I got chastised. And the more he chastised me, the more nervous and upset I got. Because it was like all of a sudden I was on the firing line. And his mood was intense that afternoon. I've never seen him like that, personally, that angry, right? And so finally, in my confusion, I skipped over I got through to Namo Mahabharanaya, and I skipped it. And I started into Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu, and Prabhupada said, no, you have forgotten Namo Mahabharanaya. all right, I will finish these mantras. And then he concluded the mantra chanting, much to my relief, right? Then the rest of it went basically okay, right? Prabhupada had this sour look on his face most of the time, but then he gave Akoyananda his sannyas. Akoyananda was standing there. Besides taking sannyas, which is serious enough, he was also had just been chastised very heavily. And he was holding the danda, and his teeth were clenched, and he was shaking. So finally, when it was all over, and one more thing, afterward, the mantras are chanted a second time the way Prabhupada did an initiation. While the fire is made, the mantras are chanted again, and then the ghee and grains are put with the shwaha, and the bananas are put, right? So while Prabhupada chanted the mantras, I was doing the fire, because I was sitting right there at the sand, right? So, so what happened is, as I was doing it, I started feeding sticks into the fire with my right hand and had the ladle in my left hand. And I was pouring ghee. And then as I held up the ladle, I realized, oops, it's supposed to be in my right hand. And I switched hands, and Prabhupada was looking at me as I did it, and he went like this. Because, again, I'm left-handed, right? And I had I was using the wrong hand to pour the ghee on the fire. I had to switch it, and he was watching me do it. And he made this really disgusted look on his face. So finally, when that was over, he said, all right. He pointed at me, he said, begin kirtan. I started leading a kirtan. Prabhupada looked over to Koyananda, who was still standing there like this. And Prabhupada looked at him, and for the first time in that afternoon, he smiled a little bit. And he went like this to Koyananda, looking at him, meaning dance. Get your body moving, loosen up a little bit, right? He was pleased with his seriousness and also wanted him to get into the swing of the kirtan. It wasn't that serious, you know what I mean? Or he should enjoy Krishna consciousness also. I thought that was clear from his facial expression. It's the first time he smiled all day. Then he after it was over, the place totally packed, he got up and went to the back door to leave, and when he got to the back door, the car hadn't gotten there yet. And he had to stand in a little drizzle of rain for a few minutes, and the crowd was so packed in behind him that he couldn't even fit back inside. And he was just standing there like this in the rain. He got into the car, and he asked Nanda Kumar, so, you have brought my prasadam? Now, he was taking simpler prasadam by that time. And Nanda Kumar said, well, Prabhupada, I thought you would take your usual prasadam since it's not as rich. He said, no, this is a deity installation. I want Mahaprasadam. So Nanda Kumar, he said, go and get me a plate. So Nanda Kumar went back in, came out with a plate of Maha. They drove Prabhupada off. And Nanda Kumar told me, a little later on in the afternoon, when they arrived at Prabhupada's apartment, the car stopped. Prabhupada's plate of prasadam fell off the back seat and landed face down on the floor of the back seat of the car, which one can simply assume was what the floor of a back seat of a car is usually like, not perfectly clean, right? And Nanda Kumar went, oh no, to himself. And when Prabhupada went upstairs, he said, I was hoping Prabhupada would forget about his prasadam. But the first thing he said was, where is my prasadam? Bring me my prasadam. And he said, Prabhupada, it fell on the floor. Prabhupada said, bring it. And Nanda Kumar picked it off the floor, put it back on the plate, and brought it to him. He said, Prabhupada ate the whole plate. Right? Again, it probably had dirt and whatnot in it, and Prabhupada ate it all anyway, because it was prasadam. He said, Ribati, you're into philosophy. You know what Prabhupada said the other day? I said, what? He said, Prabhupada said that sometimes even after going back to Godhead, a soul could fall again. And I said, are you sure? Because I knew a lot of Bhagavad Gita, and there's a couple of verses in the Gita where Krishna says, having returned to my transcendental abode, one never returns to this world of miseries, etc. There's several verses. I think there's 3 different verses that mention never returns if one completes the business, right? So he said, well, you can ask him yourself, but I'll guarantee you that's what he said. So when I got a chance to go into Prabhupada's room, it was after he woke up from a nap. And Nana had just put a garland on him, and there were several devotees in the room. And I asked if I could ask a question, and he said yes. And I said, is it true that just recently you've been talking about how sometimes even having gone back to Godhead, a soul sometimes falls again into the material energy? And Prabhupada said, yes. And I said, well, how does that relate with what the Gita says when it says never? And Prabhupada smiled a little bit and he said, actually, he said, never means practically never. Okay, that's what he said. Never means practically never. And he smiled a little bit, kind of a wise, meditative smile. And he said, because really we are eternally the same. So marginal means that there is that capacity to turn away or turn toward. So sometime it might happen. Of course, generally a soul does not fall. And even if he does, he probably wouldn't do it again, but it is not inconceivable. Right? That's what he said. Again, it relates to the same issue, because some people say that souls never fall away in the first place, or they fall from somewhere else besides Krishna's association. Well, this was definitely about being back to Godhead, as it describes it in the Bhagavad Gita, back to Krishna's abode. So those are some relevant points that I thought might be interesting to record. I was in Prabhupada's room one time, and there was nobody else there, so I said, I wanted to ask you, Srila Prabhupada, when we're out traveling, a lot of the time we stay up late with the students. If they're going to stay late and ask questions into the night, we stay up with them, because we probably won't see them again. Sometimes they're very sincere. So we're occasionally up until 12 o'clock midnight or 2 in the morning after a program, preaching, talking with students. He said, how do you do, he was concerned about the book distribution, whether it was being done right, and I said, well, we place your books as the altar pieces, because we use the Krishna book as Radha Krishna, and your picture is on the back of it, and we have a Panchatatva painting, then we have kirtan, and I give a lecture, and we have more kirtan, we give out prasadam, we invite the students to come and look at the books and talk to us. He said, he smiled as he started smiling as I was talking. He said, oh, that is very nice. He said, if you just continue to do just like that, he told me, it does not matter how many books you distribute, because your program is different. It will attract devotees. So he specifically said, quote, it does not matter how many books you distribute. He said, as long as you're presenting them nicely, which we were doing. Right? So he was actually real pleased. And I said, well, I'm a little worried because sometimes we don't, because we get to bed real late, we get up 6 hours later, we're not up for a Mangala Artik, or we're not up by 4 o'clock in the morning, so we're not really following the exact sadhana. And Prabhupada was still smiling. He said, that is all right. He said, because you are doing Sankirtan, he said, that will be fine. He said, then he told me something. He said, I have written in my books that our movement runs on 2 tracks, which are called the Pancharatriki Bidhi and the Bhagavad Bidhi. He said the Pancharatriki Bidhi means the rules and regulations of deity worship, and our temple sadhana is centered around it. Because of the Mangala Artik, etc., it sets all of our time of activities and like that. Right? And it's very valuable for devotees to become strong. Right? By being regulated. He said the Bhagavad Bidhi is simply chanting, dancing, feasting, and philosophy. And it is Lord Chaitanya's process. That is really what Lord Chaitanya came to propagate. He said after, when he instructed the Goswamis to write, they produced books which, he said they added some modes of worship from the previous age mode of worship, which was deity worship, in order to make the process appear more Vedic to the Smarta Brahmin community in India, who are otherwise criticizing Lord Chaitanya, that we do not find this in the Vedas. So to make it appear more Vedic, he said, they added certain things, and that is what we call the Pancharatriki Bidhi, right? So even though I say in my books that our movement runs on 2 tracks and they are both equally important, he said, I will tell you that that if you can get along without the Pancharatriki Bidhi in this age if necessary, but you cannot get along without the Bhagavad Bidhi. This is why your Sankirtan activity is sustaining you even without the regulation of the regular deity worship. He said, so if a devotee needs to be strengthened, then send him to the temple or return him to the temple, but otherwise the Sankirtan will be all you need. And then he told me, do not preach like this. Do not speak like this. And I said, why? Because I was all ready to run out and start singing. I thought it was wonderful what he explained to me. And he said, no, he said, many devotees are attached to the deities and the deity worship in a very sentimental way, which is helping them to be attached to Krishna consciousness. And if you explain like this, they may mistake it that you are criticizing the deity worship, right? Or the deity, that it is less important or unimportant, right? So therefore, do not preach like this. I'm explaining this to you for your own understanding of priorities, in other words, which was very nice of him. So when it was over, I talked with, I think Shamsundar Mukund, or rather Nanda Kumara, were there. I said, maybe I should go over to Prabhupada's apartment just on behalf of the devotees and apologize. Because we all thought that it was the worst disaster day we'd ever seen as far as our service was concerned. And so I got a ride over, and I asked Nanda Kumara, is Prabhupada still up? And he said, yes. Because can I see him? He said, well, put your head in and see if he'll see you. And when I put my head around the door, and Prabhupada looked at me, and I said, can I come in? And he said, yes, come on. So I came in and I sat down at his feet after offering obeisances, and I said, Srila Prabhupada, on behalf of all the devotees, I just wanted to apologize because we did it so badly, and we know it was just so, we're sorry to have displeased you so much. Prabhupada smiled at me a little bit, and he said, do not pay it any mind. I'm almost positive that's what he said, do not pay it any mind. And I was really amazed because he was as cool as a cucumber. So a question came to me. I said, and I knew from experience in India and other places never to refer to Prabhupada as an example of a pure devotee to his face. Because when I did it one time in India, he said, I am not a pure devotee, I am a rascal. With great vehemence he said it. Right, so I said, Prabhupada, can you answer me a question about the consciousness of a pure devotee? And he said, yes. Well, he said, ask. So I said, sometimes it appears that a pure devotee may be very angry, or that he may be happy, right? And yet, how does that really affect him, right? Because I was thinking, now he doesn't seem upset even slightly, right? So Prabhupada answered like this, basically. He said, the consciousness of a pure devotee is very, very deep. He said, it is like the ocean. So the ocean, on the surface of the ocean, near the surface, there may be so many waves that are kicked up. But as you go down even a few feet into the ocean, you will find out it is very still. Right? He said, and I understood what he was saying immediately. So in other words, so he said, in this way, the consciousness of a pure devotee is so deep that nothing really disturbs it. He said, there may be some ripples on the surface, but underneath it remains very, very deep and still. And I said, is it like that even at death? And he said, yes.
Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. His Grace Sriman Revati Nandan Prabhu ki Jai. Maharaj ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Just one thing I wanted to advise all of you that don't underestimate Revati Nandan Maharaj. He's full hair and karmi dress. But no. He's very nice. You guys can hear from the realizations. And he spoke. When I heard it for the first time, I noted out everything. I said he could speak. He had a vision of recording this for the future generation. That's why I said, a couple of times that let it be on record, to clear many things. So, and he passed away recently. Yeah, I thanked his wife, good wife, for his realizations and his personal association of Prabhupada and in sharing it. This has shaped our preaching. And I'm sure it has affected so many devotees in many different ways. Hare Krishna. So if you want to share what you realized here, I would like to encourage everyone to please do so. I think we've got Krishnananda Prabhu here. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. He's joined us today, I think. Okay. maybe please feel free. What is the one thing that you picked up from today's, this realization by Nandan Maharaj? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much for showing this wonderful class again. And thank you, His Grace, Krishna Prabhu, and Her Grace Pragya Devi Dasi Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. And our devotees who recorded this. We just showed it,
No, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yes, please.
Yes.
We are very eager to hear your one thing which you take with it, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Yeah. It's many points, Prabhuji. As you said, that is short, but it was very many things to take away. And the first thing I took, I realized that how Srila Prabhupada was showing it. He's a true acharya, so he's a founder acharya, and how pure devotee. As in the end, Prabhuji said that how pure devotee's consciousness is. So he can change rules according to particular situation, but it doesn't mean that it becomes the norm for us. Like as Prabhuji talks about the prasadam. First of all, like everything is Krishna's mercy. Yes, everything belongs to Krishna. So even us, our body, everything belongs to Krishna. So everything is Krishna's mercy, prasadam. But it doesn't mean that we don't offer. It shouldn't become a norm. So it's so right. Like sometimes devotees go out for preaching, sankirtana, and book distribution, and in a particular situation, Srila Prabhupada can say those things, but the way we should take it is different. And another point is when and Srila Prabhupada didn't hesitate how to show, like cleaning the altar. He will just got into it and clean it, and how to show the dirty water and clean water. Cleanliness is the next to godliness. So how to become situated in Satagun. And another thing was that this point, the soul fall down from spiritual world. Because there was I remember talking to this point to Amrish Prabhu, and we have discussed that before as well. And yes, it's like some people say that it's not, or it's not. We were not with Krishna all the time in spiritual world, and how come we can fall down? Or worse, as Prabhuji said that in the Bhagavad Gita, that verse that you never come down, and as Srila Prabhupada said that practically never come down. So we have a independent will, free will. So the way to understand this point is as Srila Prabhupada said, that it's very practical example. Srila Prabhupada said that it's a practical is impossible, like not possible. But because we are, Krishna gave us all free will, so we can choose where. And at one point we already choose to come down, so we are here. So yes, probably that's how I understood this point. But if you can maybe show some more light on it, probably again, it would be very wonderful. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
No, you want to. Prabhupada has said it. What light can I share? But I just want to say one thing that apart from ISKCON, other Gaudiya Vaishnavas, mutts and all, they have a different viewpoint here. So that becomes a point of a dispute about whether we were with Krishna or we're not with Krishna. So that's why he said, if you remember, if you listen to it carefully, he said, I'm telling you, Prabhupada, remember it, Prabhupada said that we're with Krishna. So this is the point. And because everybody else said, no, we are not. And our own sampradaya, same sampradaya, but different viewpoints.
Definitely.
How we differ, you know?
Yes,
Yeah.
Prabhuji. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for clearing that.
Thank you.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. No, thank you. Whatever little I understand, you know. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Amrish Prabhu. Thank you very much for sharing this wonderful video.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Krishna Samarpan Das, and thank you, Purnabandha Devidashi Mataji. Sanjay Prabhu has actually, Sanjay Prabhu has already mentioned, I mean, there are a lot of points, like, right from beginning till end, like, Srila Prabhupada's, while talking, realized that Srila Prabhupada had a vision. And that vision is now, we can see that, like, this Prabhupada, this devotee must have given his relation for long back, but now we can see that what Prabhupada has seen, what he had a vision, that we are seeing it now. Everything, like, when he wanted to clean the, like, that age, he never bothered to, like, think that he's a, like, good, big acharya, but he didn't, and he just started cleaning the floor. So who can do that one? And that's a really big example, like setting an example for others, for us. Sometimes even we go to the temple, we think, oh no, this cleaning, no, I can only distribute prasadam. So that's the, that's really very amazing. Yeah. Even, he sometimes he's tough, but sometimes he's like, Prabhuji said that he's cool as cucumber, because that's the way he is teaching to his disciples. Like even distributing the books, he said, yeah, it doesn't matter how many books, but there should be presentation. So that sometimes I remember, like, when we attend Mahata's program, so you always used to be like, particular points, like, this should be this way, this should be that way. So these are all things coming from Srila Prabhupada to you, and from you to us. So thank you, Prabhuji, for showing us wonderful.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yeah, I heard all
Yes,
these
yes.
things, from Prabhupada. That's why.
Yes.
I'm a rascal. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank
Hare
you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hari Bol.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you, Amrish Prabhu and Krishna Samarpan Prabhu, for actually sharing this very nice video. And yeah, thank you to His Grace, Revati Nandan Maharaj, for his very nice realization. So many points. I think first point that I think is really important is when Srila Prabhupada explained Prabhuji regarding the Panchratri Vidhi and Bhagavad Vidhi. So yeah, Amrish Prabhu already actually spoke to me on this point a couple of times, same point. But Srila Prabhupada, he explained that how actually Panchratri Vidhi, and Bhagavad Vidhi. So Prabhupada also said that you can get away without Panchratri Vidhi, but you cannot get away without Bhagavad Vidhi, which is actually chanting the holy name, Sankirtan, and preaching and feasting as well, he said. But he did mention initially that both are very, very important, the two fields of the single card. And he also mentioned, but do not preach like this, because many devotees, they're attached to the deity worship. Yeah, and it's so true. Means actually, even when we do deity worship, sometimes I personally thought I spent too much time on deity worship and all that, and I should be focusing on Bhagavad Gita. But once you start, it's very difficult to give up. You won't want to give up, you cannot give up. So that's what I realized, because you get attached, and it's very hard to actually leave that. But yeah, it's very important. If you follow the both actually with this properly, then I think it will help our devotional service. But we know that actually, if it's for any problem or time limitation, actually the Bhagavad Gita is most important. That we should always focus on preaching and chanting, and we have to dedicate our time. So that is very, very important point Srila Prabhupada clarified. The Prasadam point is also, I think Sanjay Prabhu already shared that basically everything is Lord's Prasad. So that is the pure devotees, actually Mahabhagavat, the view, everything is actually Lord's mercy. But we should not actually take that as a shortcut to eat everything and satisfy our senses. But yes, practically I used to think everything is given by Krishna. So yes, it's prasad, but it is our austerity to actually cook separately and offer it and actually restrict it to the prasad. So that's austerity we have to perform. So purify ourselves. So, but yes, I think that's a good point to know that Srila Prabhupada confirmed that. And the first one, actually, I was thinking the Srila Prabhupada, he didn't want to take a sannyas, but his god brother, one of these Tirth Maharaj, wrote him later, reminding him that his Guru Maharaj wanted him to take sannyas and then preach, and then he had a dream in consecutive 3 nights that his Guru Maharaj was walking and he's actually calling Srila Prabhupada to follow his path. So that was really revealing, actually how that his Guru Maharaj wanted him, and even Srila Prabhupada didn't wanted him to take sannyas. I think he followed his order, so if he wanted a desire, he took the sannyas. So that is, I think, yes, there is, I think, very, very important point, that we have to do things even if we don't like to do. So we have to follow the spiritual master's order, So that is devotional service, as Amrish always mentioned, that we have to perform devotional service according to not our convenience, but according to the object we are serving. So we have to actually follow their lead, not our lead. So this is very, very important. And many other points, Prabhuji, is a lot of technical, I would say, as you said, a lot of technical points. And thank you very much for sharing, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Also, I wanted to, now that we all have seen this, because there are other series of realization also by Jyotirindra Prabhu, but I wanted to show this much. Now with the leaders program, we can share a bit more regarding because there are also lectures, or very specific lectures, given by some authorities in Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, in our ISKCON, about Pancharatrika Vidhi and the Bhagavad Vidhi and the Bhagavad initiation and the Pancharatric initiation and what is important, what is not important. Very clear cut they have mentioned. But that we will not understand if we do not have the basic concepts about this. Majority of people don't read this, they don't understand these things. So they're emotionally attached about a lot of things, and they will immediately label you as something else, whereas that's not Shastra. So now this will give us a way of advancing this discussion with the leaders group. I hope that's what I wanted to say. With it, a bit more information with today's realization by Devotees Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much for showing us really nice. It's always nice to see this all realizations from all the devotees and his Maharaj actually. And thank you, Krishna Swarban Prabhu, for your hard work behind this. It's so many things from this video very nicely Revatinandan Maharaji said to us. I just like to share one point. This is the time when there was Revatinandan Maharaj said about the initiation ceremony. So when Srila Prabhupada, when the initiation ceremony, the time when Srila Prabhupada arrived there and he saw its preparation was not really that good, that what he was expecting, Srila Prabhupada was expecting, and then he was not happy actually. Srila Prabhupada was not happy. And then he instructed, where he was asking where's the flowers and fruits and how can I bring the Krishna here if the, the preparation is not good. How can I bring the Krishna here so I can give initiation? From this incident, I just realized that, whatever we need to do for the particular ceremonies and all, we should be very sincere, or if we don't know anything, we should inquire about it, like how to do it or what to do for this, and we should try to prepare accordingly and all. So maybe they were not aware about this, how to prepare or something. That's what I was thinking, that if we need to do perform anything devotional service, we need to understand first what need to do and how it should be, what way we need to do it. That's more important, and we should be very sincere when we're doing that one. So we should please Srila Prabhupada and Srila Gurudev and Srila Prabhupada and our Radha Giridhari. So that's one point I realized from this. And also about the prasadam, even Srila Prabhupada was so fond about the prasadam, and he taught us, even it's prasadam fall down on the floor, and still he accepted it, So now how we should be very grateful to the prasadam. How should I respect, that much we should respect our prasadam. So it's so important. So yes, these 2 points I would like to share for today. Thank you for showing us, Prabhuji. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Thank you for that. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yeah, I don't know if Krishna Prabhu has come back. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I mean, if you're there, please, you can jump in anytime to speak or to clarify or answer any of the devotees' questions. Hare Krishna. Okay, we'll continue with our program. Yes, who would like to go next? Please, please. Let the nectar flow. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Abhi. Thank you for sharing the video, bro.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhuji, and
Krishna.
thank you for the shorts. The short which you made on YouTube is wonderful.
Thank
Now,
you.
we are waiting for more, more and more. There are over 400 videos. You'll be very busy. You'll become old. And we'll keep giving you more videos. So from each session, you can make so many shorts.
Yes, Abhi. No, it
Wonderful.
helps me, like I have to watch the lecture again and again.
Yeah, that's the whole
That
idea.
part, the shorts that I made, I all like the 60-second short. I remember that 60-second short. And
Hare
Om
Krishna.
Prabhu also helped me, Prabhu, in the shorts I made
Yeah, did he?
recently.
Wonderful. Thank you, Om Prabhu. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Please keep doing. You youngsters are very much needed, Yes. Yes, please share your realization, what you realized today from Ryotina Prabhu's Maharaj's realizations. Hare Krishna.
Yes, bro. Like Prabhuji mentioned that when Prabhupada used to correct him when he was separating the syllables, Prabhupada was correcting him every time, even if he made a small mistake. So I remember that you mentioned few minutes ago in the homage that we should not, our mood is very clear. We are not like, you always say that we are keeping Maharaj's mood and Prabhupada's mood, that we are not diluting it. We should be very careful. So I remember that. And the next point that devotees mentioned earlier about the prasad, that Prabhupada ate the prasad that was fallen down and that had dirt in it. So I was thinking that I have so many things, like I want this in prasad, this in prasad. And I remember you saying that if we had diabetes, we will not offer jalebi to Krishna. I remember the point you made in previous classes. So these are the 2 points that I remember. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Be careful. Temple standards are different, home standards are different, I mean, if you are cooking something which you are not going to eat, then you cannot honor then what to do, So please. Very nice. Haribol. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you Prabhuji for sharing the video. Thank you Krishna Sarpan Das Prabhu. Thank you Purna Praja Devi Das Mataji. There were so many points in the video. The most important point which I liked is the deity worship, as Sheetal Prabhu also mentioned about the deity worship. And yesterday, the day before, we had a program at my place, and that day it was Vallabhacharya's son's birth birthday. So my family, they wanted to go to temple, and they wanted to visit temple. So they are very emotional side. So always wanted to uh, I always wanted them to sit and have Bhagavatam classes. So, and Prabhuji said, okay, we'll have a session at your home. So I was very happy, and I told my father. So, and my mother, she said yes, but then said, oh, we'll not be able to visit the temple. And now today in the session, I understood, okay, Prabhupada is saying don't preach in that way, so that because they are attached to deity worship, and they'll progress in the same way. So there I got the answer of the question, so what I was having in my mind. The second point, which was also like, it was like I was pondering into that one point, that the pure devotee's consciousness is compared to the ocean. Deep inside, the ocean is very deep, but from the surface you'll not be able to find the thickness of the ocean. So each and every point in the session, I found a very deep meaning of it, and now the consciousness is being compared to the ocean. And the third point, the lotus was compared with the planetary system. So I was thinking how Prabhupada was explaining each and every point with an example, so that whenever a person will see each and everything, he will relate it to the Krishna consciousness. So, thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Revati Nandan Prabhuji, for sharing this realization of Prabhupada. Thank you.
Jai, Jai. Sriman Retinan Maharaj ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Yes, absolutely right. All the best. More and more, as you study more, once you come to the intermediate level, you study a bit differently, you see it in a different way, you learn a bit more. But it's very nice. Very nice. Our focus is both Bhagavad Vidis we are focusing upon. Yeah? So very nice. Hare Krishna. All the best. Yes, who would like to go next, please?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to see such a beautiful nectarian memories of Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, there were a lot of points, as devotees already mentioned. There were a lot of points that was hitting hard. It was very philosophical for me, very, very philosophical. But yeah, the one point of prasadam that also Pradyum Prabhu also mentioned, that we like, for me, I feel that I'm so choosy to pick and choose the type of dishes that I want to make, and then I want to offer to Krishna and then have. I mean, this is how we think. We don't think that, okay, this is the particular dish that we make and would be, nicely accepted by Krishna. But yeah, I like chole, and that is why I'll make chole for Krishna. So this is what we particularly think. So that was very hard hitting point. Another point that was made is the two vidhis that was mentioned by Devi Nandan Prabhu, given by Prabhupada, and um, I was uh, yeah I and then when Revati Nandan Prabhu said that, when Prabhupada said that, the Bhagavatam Vidhi is, when you do the Bhagavatam Vidhi, it's okay, when, because Sankirtan is ultimately that you need to do. So he was happy. He was like, yeah, I felt nice that Prabhupada mentioned that even if you are not doing this uh, compulsory regulative thing, you are okay, you are good to go. So I also felt the same thing hearing Revinandan Prabhu. Okay, that Sankirtan is good enough, so I'll we're going to follow. But yeah, I also felt the same way as Revinandan Prabhu felt, and instructed by Prabhupada. But of course, because of the regulation and because of this uh, rules that that people follow, and their attachment to deity worship is still there. At my place also, I feel that that is why I don't tell often my parents and um, people who are still going to temple and attached to their deity worship. So But then I always feel that if they at all a person is following the deity worship process, that has to be done 100%. So there are a lot of things.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you. But it is Bhagavad Vidhi, you know. And remember one thing, preaching is very important for Bhagavad Vidhi to follow. Otherwise, we become very lazy, not doing this, not doing that. But that doesn't mean that Pancharatika Vidhi we should not follow. So we also have the worship of the deities at home. Okay, yeah, it's not a compromise on it. You know? But the important thing is you can get away with it by performing only Bhagavad Vidhi as long as you're preaching. That's why our emphasis is on preaching. All of you, anyone who joins us, as you know, we're training you to be preachers of some kind. So it's very important to understand this. Yeah, and as you will move to the next level, you know, intermediate level and then advanced level, you understand the deeper meaning behind the Pancharatika Vidhi, what is the meaning of it, and the Bhagavad Vidhi, what meaning of it, how will it lead you back to Godhead, and what will not, all these things. Because many devotees who do not study, as I repeated this point again, they misunderstand these things. You know, they completely misunderstand these things. So we have to be very careful. And a lot of thought goes behind this in preaching, especially. Yeah. So wonderful, wonderful. All the best to you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Those are nice realizations from Ratanand Prabhu. He was very deliberate in his realizations, as is mentioned, that he was wanting specific things to be mentioned so that we know, which is very nice. It's very nice that these devotees who we're showing on our program, that they're taking the time to tell us what Srila Prabhupada has, said to them, which is, it's been a long time since then, but they've still remembered and sharing with us, which will go generations. It's very nice. The one point that I liked was that I learned from Srila Prabhupada had the prasadam that had fallen down. So that shows that Srila Prabhupada, 100% was practicing what he preached. If something's been offered to the Lord, then it's prasadam, and the prasadam, we accept that prasadam, regardless of what has happened to it. So it's a big learning thing for me too. It may seem small, but it's very it leads to a lot of other things about Srila Prabhupada. So another big example of Srila Prabhupada being uncompromising in his bhakti. So that's my realization, right?
Hare Krishna. Well, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sriman Yotinandan Maharaj ki jai. Srila Prabhupada. Very good. Yes, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you so much for showing us such a wonderful class, and his realization memories are always take us to Srila Prabhupada, and we always feel like that Srila Prabhupada was the best personality of giving example of everything that has to be done in a way which always just encourages us and improves and satisfy us with our devotional service and bhakti. So there's few points which I really touched my heart, that how Srila Prabhupada, never compromised with that. If we are like bringing the Krishna, that there should be a proper where the flowers are, where the fruits are. So how can Krishna be in a place where there is no preparation, and then there is it just shows the inside devotion, that how we are, what we are actually doing for Krishna. And another thing that Srila Prabhupada never always taught us, that we just have to obey the prasadam, and even if it's like from the fruit, like it shouldn't get waste. So yeah, these points, and how Srila Prabhupada never taught us never compromise with the things how we are doing. It has to be done in a perfect way and perfectly. So that's what we always done. So that was really nice, all the points what we have done. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Jai Sriman Yotinand Prabhu Maharaj ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Mother. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vishnu, and thank you, and Hare Krishna devotees also, and thank you again to Purnipanga Devi Rasi Mataji and Krishna Prabhu. My realization from this video, I think we have seen this before, I don't know, Nityananda Maharaj, and the connection we had with Prabhupada was just amazing. That how they built this kind of relationship with Prabhupada, watching him so closely and describing these things so nicely, people like us, and now the new young devotees who are coming along and trying to understand, and they ask me same question. These questions, I think, very common questions. So now they hear from what Prabhupada has done and how Prabhupada was doing, and what is the correct way, and what is the philosophy behind it, what is the importance of those things. So that's timing is perfect, Prabhu. And the other thing, Prabhupada was a walking Bhagavatam, so whatever he did was Bhagavatam. So while singing the Jaya Madhava and his tears flowing from the eyes, and I heard this, but probably I felt it more. So if you do this service, if you have that mood, that what can happen to us, that will happen. And Prabhupada never liked to be called as pure devotee. That shows his humility, that shows his greatness. That's what he likes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Okay, we are done. We'll wait for 10 more seconds. Someone wants to say. No? Okay. Oh, well. Thank you very much. If you can please join us for Maharaj. Maharaj, please hear us. We can put today's program. Whose turn is it today to sing? Nobody's turn? Or
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
my turn?
Say Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी.
Oh, Hare Krishna, Subhadra ji. कैसे हैं आप? ठीक हैं?
Yes प्रभु जी.
Very nice. माधव जी, आप कैसे हैं?
Good प्रभु जी.
मैं ठीक हूँ प्रभु जी, बोलिए.
मैं ठीक हूँ प्रभु जी.
Very nice, माधव जी. Hare Krishna, very nice. हिंदी बोलते रहिए. Keep speaking Hindi at home. ठीक है ना?
Yes, sir.
ठीक है, बोलो हाँ जी.
हाँ जी.
हाँ जी. That's all right. Wonderful. Okay. Yes, Subhadra ji, your turn now. Please sing nicely with actions. We'll follow you, okay? 1, 2, 3, start.
Maharaj, Maharaj, please hear us.
Maharaj, Maharaj, please hear us.
We have learned some real good stuff.
We have learned some real good stuff.
Maharaj, we have learned one thing.
Maharaj, we have learned one thing.
And today for you we will sing.
And today for you we will sing.
If our room is clean,
If our room is clean,
then our mind is clean.
then our mind is clean.
If our mind is clean,
If our mind is clean,
we can do anything.
we can do anything.
If our room is dirty,
If our room is dirty,
we. Then so are we.
Then so are we.
And if we are dirty,
If we are dirty,
we're not happy.
we're not happy.
Wasting time
Wasting time
is the greatest crime.
is the greatest crime.
Because wasted time
Because wasted time
means a wasted mind.
means a wasted
The
mind.
best is your time.
The best is your time
When you're in your prime.
when you're in your prime,
And your whole life
and your whole life
will be sublime.
will be sublime.
If your wealth is gone,
If your wealth is gone,
then there is nothing wrong.
then there is nothing wrong.
But if your health is gone,
But if your health is gone,
then that's a different song.
then that's a different song.
If your character dies,
If your character dies,
then the world will cry.
then the world will cry.
Only saintly behavior,
Only saintly behavior,
that humanity thrives.
that humanity thrives.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare
Rama Rama,
Hare
Hare.
We must always remember Krishna.
We
must always remember Krishna
Never forget him too.
and never forget him too.
But how are we to practice this with so many things to do?
But how are we to practice this with so many things to do?
That is the greatest question.
That is the greatest question.
And here's the greatest clue.
And here is the greatest clue.
You must learn to work so nicely that Krishna remembers you.
You
Must learn to work so nicely that Krishna remembers you.
So listen very closely.
So listen very closely
And make your thinking sharp.
and make your thinking sharp.
Let's learn how we can live and work so Krishna won't depart.
Let's learn how we can live and work so Krishna won't depart.
If something due tomorrow,
If something's due tomorrow,
finish it today.
finish it today.
Whatever's due today,
And whatever's due today,
do it now, don't delay.
do it now, don't delay.
Your friends might be lazy,
Your friends might be lazy
or doing bad things.
or doing bad things,
But you think again,
but you think again,
don't follow them,
don't follow them,
and you will win the end.
and you will win the end.
Whatever work we're given,
Whatever work we given,
we do our very best.
we do our very best.
We only live with what we need and give Krishna the rest.
We only live with what we need and give Krishna the rest.
This is how to live, to work and to play. You learn to live this way, you'll see Krishna every day.
This is how to live, to work and to play. You learn to live this way, you'll see Krishna every day.
And when our time is up, he'll take us up above. We'll sing and dance with him with a heart full of love.
When our time is up, he'll take us up above. We sing and dance with him
with a heart full of love.
To chant Krishna's name, his glories and his fame is the only way this world will ever become sane.
So chant Krishna's name, his glories and his fame
Is
is the only way this world will ever become sane.
Now please ask this greatest question.
Now please ask this greatest question
Find this greatest clue.
And find this greatest clue.
You can only remember Krishna
You
You
can
can
only
only remember Krishna
if Krishna remembers you.
if
Krishna remembers you.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai.
His Holiness Srila Mahavishnu Goswami Maharaj Srila Gurudev ki Jai. His Grace Prana Prabhu ki Jai. His Holiness Srila
Jai.
Mahavishnu Goswami Maharaj Srila Gurudev ki Jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. His Grace Devotees Maharaj ki Jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Shri Sai God Sri Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna. So Krishna willing, we'll see you next week, same place, same time. Till then, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Hare Krishna. And it's wonderful, all of you prayed
Hare
the
Krishna
Lord
Prabhuji,
blessing the
thank
day after
you.
heard the message of Prabhupada Prabhu. It's very nice, very heartening to hear. Hare Krishna. All the best. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji. Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Krishna
Hare Krishna,
Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.